Sunday night, as the Bears were being embarrassed again by the Green Bay Packers, this time on primetime Sunday Night Football, I took to my Twitter device and decided to vent and rant and rave about my frustration with this organization and this incarnation of the Chicago Bears. I can't remember a time again that I've been more ashamed or embarrassed of a Chicago Bears team in my about 30 years now of being a fan of this organization. Um, this is bad. It's pathetic. And this is a team that looks like they've already checked out on the season. This is a team that looks like they might not want to win another game this year. The lack of effort is atrocious. And one of the things I tweeted during Sunday night's game is that I would not pay Alshon Jeffrey big time money because he's not a big time wide receiver. And of course, that got a response from somebody on Twitter saying, well, he's not big time, yet he was Pro Bowl in his second season. And there's always that type of smartass that always thinks they've got something slick to come back at me with. So, of course, I respond in kind, and then it starts a whole little battle. As I'm going along, I realize as I look, I'm like, now why is this person so emotionally invested in Alshon Jeffrey? Well, it didn't even dawn on me until later that apparently this was Alshon Jeffrey's fiance. Now, of course, I got grouped in with the idiots that were sitting there and going after Mark Trestman's daughters on Twitter, which I don't condone in any way. I think is gross. I think is ridiculous. I think is stupid. I think it makes all of us as Bears fans look like morons. The only reason we might be morons is because we support the Chicago Bears organization, an organization that seems to clearly not get it, clearly not understand what it takes to be a winner, and clearly doesn't care about being a winner. But nonetheless, I get grouped in with that, even though I said something about the person from a professional standpoint, and somebody tried to come at me that happened to be the player's fiance. I did not go after somebody's friend or family member. They technically came after me, and that's an important distinction. I posted a link to the article below that one news site ran with, where they grouped me in with Mark Trestman's daughter's Twitter attackers, if you will, and I kind of resent that because you need to have the proper context of what actually happened here. But I do want to address something that Alshon Jeffrey's fiance said, because I think it's very important. Now, first of all, I stand by what I said. Alshon Jeffrey is not a big-time wide receiver, and I would not give him big-time money to justify him being a big-time wide receiver if I'm the Chicago Bears, because, one, he disappears for far too many stretches of far too many games. He's too inconsistent in his effort and performance. And with that said, at this point in time, looking at the pathetic performance and lack of effort from this team in 2014, I wouldn't give anybody on this roster a big-time extension. Why would I reward mediocrity, failure, and a lack of effort and caring and passion and heart for the game? Why would I reward that? Sorry if that's bad news to you, because you're going to marry the guy someday and you're looking at your future meal ticket and you want to make sure that's protected. Yeah, I went there. Because when you come at me with shit, I can come at you with stuff in return. But one of the things that she said was that, what would you know? Among other things that she said. One of the things she said was, what would you know? You never played college. You never played in the NFL. Never mind the fact, of course, that as a woman, she's never played college football or in the NFL. So what she's saying to me, she could turn around and point right back at herself. But it kind of touches on this whole thing, and I see it in many different forms, and it's a really, really poor defense mechanism. This whole notion that in order to be able to talk about something, you have to have done it before, you have to be an expert about it before. It is a poor defense mechanism. And when somebody brings that up to me, they've already basically said that they've lost the argument and they have no legs to stand on. For example, do I need to know how an iPhone is assembled? Do I need to know all the technical specs behind it? Do I need to know the strategies that went behind the development of it in order to know whether I like an iPhone or not? No, I don't. Do I need to be a five-star chef myself to know when I go to a restaurant where there's supposed to be a five-star chef whether or not I've had a five-star meal? No, I don't. Do I need to have been an actor or a producer or director or a screenplay writer or an editor to know whether or not a movie was any good or an acting performance was any good or the editing and production of the movie was any good or if the directing was any good, if the story and plot was any good? No, I don't. Do I need to have been a politician to have an opinion about politics? And no, I most certainly don't. And these are all things that every day people have opinions about all the time, and the vast majority of people have no knowledge of the inner workings, no clue of what's gone on behind the scenes to lead up to these certain things. No clue whatsoever. But we don't blast them for sitting there and having opinion on it. I see athletes and celebrities in general bitch about airlines and them losing their luggage and what have you. Are those athletes and celebrities out of line then? Are they not allowed to bitch about the airlines and what happened with their luggage or the flight delays because they don't have an inner working understanding of how things work and they don't know the behind the scenes? No, of course not. They're a customer. They have a right to vent. They have a right to say what they want. They have a right to want what they want as a customer, period. And again, it comes down to this whole notion of you don't have to have played or coached in college football or at the NFL level, sweetheart, to have an opinion about it. You just don't. And to sit there and use that as a defense mechanism and say that somebody like me is the problem, no, actually, it's somebody like you that is a fucking problem. And I don't even necessarily need to go into that. But what I will say is that based off of what you've said and what other people say as this incredibly, again, poor defense mechanism, that in order to talk about college or NFL football, you had to have played or coached at that level. That means that no woman could ever have an opinion. No woman should ever be a reporter or an analyst in any way for college or NFL football, right? Based off of what you said. Now, of course, if I say that, that makes me come across as sexist. But if we apply the same logic train to that as we do to somebody like me, and I can't talk about college or NFL, or I can't have an opinion, or I can't possibly be right about something because what would I know? You see what I'm getting at here? I also don't like when somebody says, you don't have an athletic bone in your body. How would you know? Did you grow up with Jeff Schlegel? Do you know what he did back in his day? Do you know what type of athletic condition he is in now? I'm just saying, I'm not going to sit here and toot my own athletic horn to the moon, but, you're talking to somebody here that was a pretty good athlete back in his day and isn't that bad considering all the years of smoking and the fact that I'm 33 years old and I can run a 5-minute mile. There aren't a lot of people in the world that even fully healthy can run a 5-minute mile at age 33. That's the truth of the matter. And that's not even being in that good of shape. So let's not go there and say that I'm not that good of an athlete. Promise you a lot of times the people that will say that are far inferior athletes to me, and I'm not necessarily a super duper great athlete myself. But it just troubles me that this is always brought up as a defense mechanism because I look at people that are supposed to know better. Players, coaches, current and former, that clearly don't have a fucking clue. Look at the amount of former players and coaches that were very high on this Bears team heading into 2014. Look at the number of former players and coaches that thought this team was going to win that division, that their offense was going to be elite, that their defense was going to be vastly improved, that they were going to make the playoffs and make some noise in the NFC. And all the while, you've got somebody like me that says, no, this team is overrated, overpaid, overaged, overhyped, and they're going to underproduce, and they might be lucky to win 6 games. Who's the idiot here? And who's the one that has credibility? I bring up some specifics. You have Trent Dilfer, a former Super Bowl winning quarterback, former first-round pick quarterback that played in the league for a decade, gets paid to talk about the NFL on ESPN, who recently said in an interview on ESPN 1000 in Chicago that Jay Cutler is one of the few quarterbacks he would want leading his team in late-game situations. This is a former Super Bowl winning quarterback saying ridiculous, dumb shit like this. Then I see people like Brian Billick, a former Super Bowl winning coach with the Baltimore Ravens, a so-called offensive mastermind, somebody who should know much better than me. I see somebody like Michael Irvin, a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, somebody that should clearly know better than fucking me. And these two knuckleheads believe before the season that Jay Cutler is going to be the 2014 NFL Most Valuable Player. And here I am the whole time beating the drum about how Jay Cutler is overrated, that he's overpaid, that they should have gotten rid of his ass after 2012, let alone after 2013, and how stupid and ridiculous it was that they paid a guy Aaron Rodgers type money to a guy, by the way, that still can't fucking beat Aaron Rodgers. But I'm the idiot because I didn't play college football, because I didn't play at the NFL level. Well, sweetheart, when we look at situations like this and when we evaluate the facts, especially when it comes to this Bears team, I assure you and I promise you, when it comes to this ridiculously dumb dick organization, there are few individuals in this entire world that have more credibility than me. There are few people that are more spot on the money and more right about this organization than me in the history of fucking ever. So while you're sitting there trying to search the mentions for your fiance on Twitter, trying to defend his ass and his piss poor effort along with the rest of his team, helping to contribute to the damn problem because you don't want your meal ticket getting fucked up down the road, here I am trying to tell everybody before the season, this team isn't that good. The defense changed names, but the performance will be the same. This offense is not elite. Alshon Jeffrey is overrated. Jay Cutler is incredibly overrated and overpaid. And Mark Trestman might be in over his fucking head. And the GM is a moron. Now, if I had played college football for 4 years and I played in the NFL for the decade, I'd be considered a genius. I'd be the all-knowing swag daddy of NFL football, especially pertaining to the Chicago Bears. But since I didn't play college football and I didn't play in the NFL, that means I'm an idiot. Now, when you look at the context of what I've said, and when you look at the substance of what I've said, and how it's been backed up by the evidence of what actually has happened, when it comes to the Bears, I'm spot on the money. I'm one of the few people you can take credibly. I'm pretty much a genius when it comes to this organization. Because more often than not, sweetheart, I'm right. So maybe, just maybe, people like Alshon Jeffrey's fiance and the other idiots that suck up to her, the other idiots that use this poor defense mechanism of you have to play or coach at a certain level in order to talk about it, need to learn that that's just simply not the case. Because you see this in the business world all the time. You've got all types of people, upper management, CEOs, don't have a fucking clue. And they've been doing this shit for years. They have no fucking clue. But again, based off of her logic, which was fail logic, no woman should ever be allowed to talk about college football or the NFL, ever. Because if they didn't play at the NFL, you can't talk about it. Okay, so in her case, she shouldn't be able to talk about it either. We shouldn't be able to talk about politics unless we've been a politician or worked in politics. We shouldn't be able to have an opinion about movies or restaurants or television shows if we haven't worked in them, haven't cooked. How ridiculous is that? And how stupid is that? And it's high time that certain segments of sports fans and people involved with sports get over this fucking fail logic, because that's exactly what it is. It's fail logic. What's even more ridiculous is when somebody like me, who's never played at the college football or NFL level, seems to know far more about it than people that did and now get paid to talk about it on the mothership and other networks. How sad is that? People like Trent Dilfer and Michael Irvin and Brian Billick, these are the ones that are supposed to have credibility, and so many others just like them. Those are just 3 specific examples that I'm bringing up. But yet, compared to me, when it comes to the Chicago Bears team, I look like the genius and they look like morons. And they're the ones that are supposed to know better. Which again just shows you how ridiculous her fail logic is and how ridiculous this fail defense mechanism is in general. You don't have to have intimate inner working knowledge of how things go on in order to have an opinion on it. Furthermore, just because you do, that doesn't mean that you know what the hell you're talking about.